kit from Tonic Craft Kit 11. I'm just going to show you some ideas and hopefully you'll have some more inspiration for when you get your kits. I'm just going to show you three ideas that you can see down here. I'm going to show you how to make two of them. This one is fairly self-explanatory, but we'll talk about that one later. The kit, as usual, you can find all the details of it with various unboxings on the Tonic channel. I'm going to use today just one of the main dies. The dies, when they come, there's another one which I've got to the side that I'm going to be using. But you can see they cut on the inside, and then you've got the outer edges here. And then you've got these little ones which make the whole pattern if you were to stack them down onto a card. And then you've got extra little elements. They are beautiful dies. And then you've got the stamps and the cardstock, some speciality papers. You've got lots of different parts to the kit, but we're just going to be concentrating mainly on the die. So let's get started. So to make this first card, rather than have the die this way, which you'll find it works brilliantly for, I decided to do it so that it actually creates a shape going up this way. You can see from the outer part of the die here that it cuts various bits, but it doesn't cut it completely. If you want to cut it, you can just trim it off. But what I've done is done it up to the top this way and then flip the die around, and I'm just going to die cut that quickly. So just pop this into my tangerine. And once we've die cut, we just gently take this off. There. So you can see we've now got it cut out on both sides, and all you need to do is just gently press out the little bits. So you're left with something like this. Now this card would be great for batch making, because the rest of the card is actually relatively simple. So once you've put it through twice, it would be very easy to replicate this over and over again. For the base of my card, which is roughly 5 inches by 6 1/4, I've just added a layer. This is not in the kit, but this is part of Tonic's Craft Perfect range, and you can get this easily. This is chili red. I just wanted a slightly brighter colour. So I've popped that on the bottom, and then I've put some of the specialty papers that you get in the kit. Now, I've been a bit wasteful. I just did this for the video. You can see you get several sheets of these. I think you get 3 sheets of this one. What I would have done ordinarily is I would have gutted this. So once I cut my piece of paper wrap to match the sizing on my card, I would have cut out the middle bit of it, because obviously once I've layered the next part over, you're not going to see that middle bit. So I would have gutted it so I could use that middle piece for another project. So that's always a good tip, particularly when you've got really pretty papers like this that you want to get the most out of. So we've created our base, and then I've cut out a piece. This cardstock is also part of the kit. This is the olive green woven textured card, and then I've just cut it so it's slightly smaller. So when we're looking at the card, you can actually see that colour coming through. I did it with this, but it just looked a little bit busy because all the texture was showing through, which is why I've used the plainer card to give a little bit more of contrast. So before we stick it on, what we need to do is raise the middle up. I mean, you don't have to do this, particularly if you're thinking about postage and all the rest of that, but I think it looks pretty with a bit of added dimension. So all you need to do is just get some foam pads, and all you need to do is just pop them in the middle section. You don't need to do it the whole way, because otherwise you'll put too much stress on each of the edges. So just put them in the middle, so that's going to lift the middle part up. So if I just remove these, just take the little bits off the top, and then I just need to put glue round the rest of it. So if I just get my glue, see if it'll behave. Oh, it's coming out nicely. There we go. And what we're going to want to do is to put the glue, see if you can see, just around the edge bits, because we're going to want those to sit firmly and flat at the base. So just pop the glue all the way around. There we go, like that. And then you're going to position it centrally onto your piece of cardstock, like that. And what's really helpful is if you get a bone folder and just push underneath like that to make sure it's secured to the base. So turn it round and do exactly the same again. So just push it down. There we go. Give it a press. And then if you want to, you can obviously lift these elements slightly above as well. So that's your basic part. And then we're going to pop that on there. So just put a little bit more glue. With the textured elements, you do need to, and I'm putting a tiny bit, I would put probably a little bit more on, just because it does need a bit more in order to be able to stick securely to the textured parts of the specialty papers. So then I would just go around and give it a really good press down. Try not to press too hard onto the actual paper itself, otherwise you'll lose some of the embossing. So that's our basic part of the card. Now really the rest of it is actually very simple. For the main sentiment, I've used the stamp set that comes with it. So I've used the Winter Wishes, but I was trying to position it, and in the end it looked too much when I cut it out. So I just decided to use the Wishes part of it. So I got a piece, this is a special type of vellum, one that doesn't actually warp when you heat emboss it. So I stamped my Winter Wishes, but before I did that, I've obviously got my Nuvo clear mark pad here. It's really helpful, particularly on the likes of vellum, if you use an anti-static pad, because that will mean that once you've put this layer, very, very fine layer of powder on, when you go to pick it up, because you've got grease on your fingers, you often leave little grease marks, and that just makes the embossing powder tend to stick to any grease. So by using the anti-static powder, it tends to mean that you get a better result. So I just ink up my stamp. And then I'll press it on. Just give it a firm press, particularly when you've got a more slippery substrate. There we go, just pop it on there. You'll be able to see very well there. But all I would do then is sprinkle on my embossing powder, and when it's heated, which is just noisy, which is why I'm not going to do it, and cut out, there you've got your wishes. So I can pop that into the middle of the card. Then all you're going to need to do is cut out, using that die that you used before, 2 of these, because all I'm going to do is trim out the berries and pop those. So it's really, really easy. Just follow the line of the berries, and I put 3 on one side and 4 on the other. You can see here, look. Now I'm cheating a little bit because obviously these berries are with the mistletoe part, so they wouldn't be red, but I'm just going for the effect rather than it looking absolutely perfect. So that one there. And that there. So we just need to add some glue. So pop some glue onto the little bits that we want to add the colour to. I mean, you could colour these in with the Nuvo alcohol markers. You could colour them in with, just position these. would help if I put the right bits on the right section, which I haven't done. Those two should have been the other way around, but just you've got a bit more time, so you'll be able to do that. So we're just going to position those on like that. These would be lovely with aqua flows. They would be nice just using some of the elements you got in your kit, like adding some of the Nouveau drops. This one is olive branch, or even one of the Nouveau drops you can get elsewhere. This is the red berry, I think. Yeah, this is red berry. So although I'm using this, you could always use other elements to colour them in. And that's the essence of the card. I won't go and do all of them because it's fairly obvious. You can see what I'm doing. And then all I've done is I've added the white blizzard glitter drops to add just a little bit of highlight onto each berry. So that's a really nice, easy card, and it just looks really delicate. It looks very much like the paper cutting trend that people love so much at the moment, but really nice and easy, and you've only used one of the dies from your kit. So let's go on to the second project. To make this treat box is really easy. I've just used 2 squares. I mean, you don't need a die to cut them out. This is the basic element square set from Tonic, but you could just cut out a square using your trimmer. So I've got 2 of the 4-inch squares. I needed 1 in white and 1 in the olive green textured card that came with the kit. So all you would do first is we're using the squares on the diagonal. So we move that out of the way. So we'd get our die, and you can see here I've already cut it out. So I've just added the die one way to the very edge, so that you know you've got that little bit coming out there. Turn it round and do exactly the same thing again. So you're left with a square with these bits. I mean, actually this would make a really pretty card just by taking both sides off and putting it on a square blank with the colour showing through. You can see there's so many ways to use these dies. They are really beautiful. But if you take your scoring tool, what I've done is I'm just putting point to point onto my board, and I'm scoring 1 inch either side. So I've got 1 inch between. I mean, you could change the sizes up. I'm just doing this because it fitted quite well. It'd be perfect as a little table favour for your Christmas table. So you just do both sides. And you don't even have to do both sides. I mean, you could just do one side for speed and leave the other side plain, but it just looks really nice from either angle. So that's our bottom part. And then for the main box, do exactly the same again. So score down 1 inch apart, and then turn it. Just make sure your lines are lined up so it's nice and straight. And I've just scored that. It was slightly more than 1 inch. Let me just put that one there. And exactly the same on the other side. I mean, the actual amount that you do doesn't matter so much as long as it's even both sides. Obviously, the further in that you score, you'll get a smaller base. So obviously, the smaller I go in will mean that I've got a smaller base to my box. So then all we need to do is just fold it. So exactly the same as I was doing before with the white bit. Score it. The only difference is with this, pop it in like that, score both sides, and now comes the bit. All we do with this bit here, so we're turning it flat, we're folding the base, the edge rather, down, and then you're just pushing those sides together, and what you find is it makes a very natural crease. So just put it together like that, same again, push, and then just press it, push it together and press it. So if you can see here, I've now got a little part like that. So all I do then is add glue, and you are going to need to hold it and do each of the sides. So now my box is all glued together. I just need to match it up with the outer part. So lay it down, decide which bits that you want where, make sure it's lined up, and then just add a little line there and a mark so you know where you're cutting. Obviously I'm doing this for speed, but you probably want to do this in a paper trimmer so you get it nice and precise. So just cut along the line that you found, and then you just need to add glue. So add a glue to the base and glue to these. You can either leave these bits here unglued or just add a couple of little dots. Just stops them tearing then when you're picking the box up and filling it. There. So pop your box on to the base. And then just press. There we go. And then just press down this side as well. And that's giving you your base. Then all you're going to need to do is just add some decoration to it, the same way that we did the stamping before. Put some onto a piece of a vellum type of substance. I've heat embossed it, and then I would just add a little bit of glue onto the back and then press that on, and then all you'd need to do is add some of the Nouveau drops. So we've got the crystal drops and the red berry and also the olive branch, and you get this with the kit. So pop those on, then just find a little cellophane bag and tie it with a little ribbon. So that's a lovely simple gift. And then the last thing that I made was using the stamps, and it was this wreath, which would be, if you made it a 1 layer rather than the 2 layers, it would make a lovely present topper. This would be nice hung from a window on your wall, just as a decoration around Christmas time. And it is using the mistletoe and holly stamp. So I've just stamped all the way around on a piece of paper. I had a little go at lining it up. It was actually really easy. They fit together just with the right width. So just pop them so that each side was touching, and it made this kind of a shape. And then trim them out, and I used my Nouveau alcohol markers. So I used the first set in, what are these, 413 and 417 for these bits of the mistletoe, and for the holly I used 410 and 416, and then I just used a little bit of the plum tomato, that's 375 for the berries in the middle, and then just added a little bit of highlights on the mistletoe berries with the glitter gloss pen from Nouveau, and of course using some of the Craft Perfect twine. So you can see it's actually really easy and a really versatile kit. The other thing that I was going to mention was using the reverse of these papers are really good when you're wanting to add colour. So obviously the green is beautiful, but if you wanted to give it a bit of a change and you perhaps just wanted more of a distressed look rather than a solid, if you actually using a spatula onto a craft mat and then adding in and rubbing on, I'd probably do it with my fingers, but obviously don't put your fingers into the pot, some of the embellishment mousse or the glimmer paste that you get with the kit. That would be beautiful just rubbed into the paper. So lots of elements in the kit. As usual, it's a super versatile kit, and there are lots and lots of things that you can do with it. It would be lovely to see what you're creating. Do tag Tonic, and any questions that you might have, either add them to the bottom of this video or join the Facebook group if you haven't already, where lots of Facebook fans of Tonic meet and they show the things that they've made, and we comment, and it's a really welcoming little community there. So do join the Facebook Tonic group if you haven't already. I look forward to seeing what you guys get to do with your kit. I hope you've enjoyed today and it's given you some ideas of what you can do with it. I shall see you soon. Thanks for joining me. Bye.